Again. Yeah. Huh. I can't trust. Are the realness, you know? Yeah. Feel it. This is love, this is me, this is you. Live your life, live it up, live it good. And I say, listen to the good news.
Okay, I can talk about my squares. You want me to talk about it? So these are my hopscotch squares, and they all came at different times. What was the first one?
What are they called?
The hopscotch squares. It's like hopscotch. Me, a little girl. And then it's my broken IKEA bookshelf. And so my bookshelf was broken, and I was really devastated about that. And the first one I made was actually the one that's on the top. It says classics are in the front. And it's about me going to this King bookstore, John King bookstore, one of the biggest bookstores in Michigan. And I walked in, I said I was looking for poetry. They said, oh, the classics are in the front. So I go to the classics section, and there's no women of color in the classics section, as usual. And so I was frustrated, and so I had this broken bookshelf, and so I came home and I just started painting on it. So it's a feather that I dipped in black tar. I had this fascination with painting with black tar. I put black tar on one of the other paintings too. And I think it's just my daddy. I wanted to work with like roofing materials, my daddy being a construction worker and all that. So they all mean something different. That's my Adidas. That was my number 7. That's my basketball number from high school. That's why it's 1989. That was my high school graduation year. I don't know how this came about. I had a broken record. My brother gave me all these wonderful classic records, and I broke one in my move. So this is just about a little girl and not being broken. And and I is a homage to a poet that died, one of my favorite poets of all time. She's Native American, an African American poet. Yeah, this is for One Below, actually, the rapper out of Detroit. I wrote that. That's what the one is for, One Below. He was at my house looking at my work. I said, I'm going to make one for you. So I put the one for him. And then I made it about my 1996 slam team and about how the minstrel show of spoken word that I don't like. And I have Gil Scott Heron here because there's markers in all the different poems. I didn't bring, there's a piece that's missing. I have my journal entry written out where I had Call Haki. So in all my two of my paintings, there's a Call Patty Smith, and there's a Call Haki, which is Hakeem Adabuti. This has just been playing around. This is Radcliffe Bailey, his mom, who won't be here tonight because he's in LA, but he's the reason why I'm doing all of this because he's a famous master painter, lives in Atlanta, Georgia, and me and Kim Mayhorn and Bryce Hammond, who curated this, all met in New Smyrna Beach, Florida, to work with Radcliffe. And so it was the first time that a painter brought a writer to work with a painter. And because he brought me and gave me the opportunity to actually explore myself outside of my comfort zone of being a writer and a poet, all of this happened. And so this is just the beginning. I just did this. I haven't even gotten started. Like, this is just me playing around. And so I had this explosion of all this stuff, like this ideas with photography. I worked with Piper Carter on the photography. So I did the pieces with these are books from my house. And so a piece that's missing too is that I built book altars and that go with it, and I couldn't ship all the books here.
Yeah, go beside it.
Yeah. So this is my living room. So these are like all the books that kind of have shaped. So it's basically the house that poems built is what I call this piece, because everything I've been doing for the last 17 years has been built on poems. The sad stuff, the hard stuff, the good stuff. It pays my rent. It feeds my sons. It feeds other people's children. And this is, of course, again, who I adore, is one of my spiritual, mothers in poetry. So you got the Quran next to the Patti Smith, next to the Jane Cortez. There's my books are in there. Paul Beatty's book Hokum. New plays by like the Mickey Giovanni. I mean, there's all kinds of it, but I read all kinds of different things. But I'm a lover of poetry, so you're gonna find poetry, nothing else. This original sold in Detroit. They're very large, and I was really excited to sell them. But this is my Juliet series, and it's about me being betrayed and me falling in love. That's my second wedding dress. That's the half of it is. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, got married and fell out with that dress. Yeah. That's how I made King. So I had no regrets with anything that I go through in my life because I take it all and make it. And this is canon. This goes to those other larger pieces, the print I sold the original. It's about the canon, the literary canon being pushed on me as a young person, a young writer. All these white male classic writers, well, I was told these were the best writers. And then I became a writer, and I was no longer compared to the best writers. And I realized it was only because of how I look. Because if I would look like them, then I would be compared to them. And so that if you look at the new series, that's T.S. Eliot and Whitman and Sylvia Plath and Emily Dickinson poems on my naked body. Okay, so No Asylums is probably my favorite piece, and it's very close to me. It's about Vivian Elliott, it's T.S. Eliot's wife, who was put away in an insane asylum. And years ago in New York, I wrote a theater show called There Are No Asylums for the Real Crazy Women, and it was dedicated to her and her life. And I can feel like as an artist and as a woman, you're called crazy a lot, especially when you're not looking like, a corporate girl, if you don't have your hair straight, if you don't have like a corporate outfit, if you're not fitting into the rest of the cattle, sometimes you're considered crazy. Or if you don't live your life as as one of the sheep, and you decide to move to New York City, to Brooklyn in '95 with no job and figure out a way to make a living as a poet. When you do crazy shit like that, you're called crazy a lot. And I think there's divinity in craziness. and so I find Vivian Elliott to be very interesting and very much not talked about enough in history. And what she did for T.S. Eliot's career, because she took his words, he took her words out of her mouth and put them in his poetry and became this famous poet. And while she died in an insane asylum that he put her in. And so this is my tribute to Vivian, and hopes to just kind of keep her work alive and show her importance. And the pictures are from me actually playing Vivian. So if I look really bugged out, it's because I'm conjuring this woman's spirit, who was probably, bipolar, if there was a such thing as bipolar back then. But back then, you just in the 20s, you just could have put away. There's no meds we could take, or maybe she just needed meditation and yoga, whatever. But these are my poems juxtaposed against T.S. Eliot's poems, juxtaposed against pictures of me. I used acrylic, and I wanted to paint with roses. So someone had sent me a dozen roses, and so I took the roses and I painted with the roses. So it's about purification, being holy. The cowrie shell pieces are from my first wedding. I was married to a poet. My first husband was Sharif Simmons, who's another poet, so we were poets in love, and so were they. And so I thought it'd be interesting to take a piece of my own, his personal history, and put it on their history. So that's what that's about. So. This piece is about my family, and this is my first painting I've ever made in my life, which was a year ago, not even a year maybe. And yeah, it'll be a year in May that I started painting anything or making this kind of art. And it just came to me. Bryce Hammond, who did the curating here, taught me how to make my first ocean. So he showed me how to make an ocean, and this is what happened. And it's just my journey of becoming who I was based on when my mother was born in England, my father was born in Alabama. So it's their worlds coming together. So it's just pictures of my grandmother, my grandfather, my maternal and paternal side, the slave ships. It's the ship my mother came up on. It's about the two ships that actually ended up making me, the girl from Detroit. So, and my son is all over it because I was missing him. I was away from my son for 3 weeks, and my guy friend was sending me pictures. He was helping me take care of him. He sent me pictures of him, and he said these pictures of King loves to jump everywhere. He's fearless, and the pictures really helped keep me for those 3 weeks of him just jumping off of everything downtown, jumping off the edge of stuff. And so I wanted to show pictures of him jumping into the ocean because the first time he saw an ocean, he almost ran into Venice Beach, just ran into it. I had to go get I think he was 2 years old then. And so yeah, it's about how I'm more fearless because of my son. People get scared when they have kids, and I get more dangerous. My son's badass. So that's that. Okay. I was at the ham. Not my ham. I was nervous. Not my ham. Okay.
Let me see something.
Yeah. I like when you put it too. Wow. I feel like I should be compared to Sonia Sanchez and Nikki Giovanni and Zaki Shange the same way I should be compared to Emily Dickinson and Sylvia Plath. And why not? And so, yeah, it's about people like bullshit American racism, really, and apartheid, what I call literary apartheid, where they segregate us in bookstores, they segregate us in the institutions and the academia, and so it's my way of like fighting against that. So yeah, that's what that is. It's real personal. All of these are really personal pieces. So thank you. Watching me run my mouth.
Yeah, that's what's up.
My scrabble pieces.